Hello, welcome to a lesson we're using on how to use Altitude AI, the first AI tool designed specifically to help wealth advisors with portfolio construction, documentation, and client correspondence. So we'll dig right into it. We'll get you started. There's a very simple, basic way to build a portfolio, kind of starting from scratch. So we'll walk through that process now, and away we go. So here I've just logged into the Allio platform. If you're struggling to log into the Allio platform, you can just go to alliocapital.com, click start profile or start trial. If you're unable to get logged in and stuff, maybe an AI tool probably isn't a good fit for your business. And you need to kind of take a deeper look at your own life, if I'm honest. So jump over here, click on build portfolio, build new portfolio. We're doing exactly what it says. So over here, jump into talk to Altitude AI. So fun little drop down right here specifically that says talk with Altitude AI. This is what's going to give you access to the LLM that's going to let you build a portfolio in the same way that you could if you were maybe writing an email to your portfolio manager and asking them to build a portfolio. So exact same methodology you use. You're basically just including everything you did within your KYC and suitability here. So I have clients who's, let's call him 57 years old. Still working, earns, let's say 250,000 per year, has a net worth of, let's say 2.5 million. Gosh darn it. There we go. Let's say the risk tolerance is somewhat moderate because he's still working. So moderate risk tolerance, let's say it's a 7 out of 10. What else should we talk about that goes into his KYC that's noteworthy here? That should be enough to get us going. And then we start to add in any kind of client preference or portfolio preferences the client has. Let's say client wants to avoid oil. Limit tech exposure. Limit tech exposure, and focus on dividends, right? Clients maybe going to retire in the next year or two if they can get away with it. So pretty straightforward information. I have, just like I would with anything else, I have the client's total net worth. I've got their risk allocation or risk tolerance. I've got the size of the portfolio. Oh, we'll add in the size of the portfolio. This portfolio is for, let's say, $1 million, right? So the rest is tied up in the stock and 401k and stuff, or company stock and 401k. Okay. So I've got his portfolio size, I've got his net worth, I've got his risk allocation, or risk tolerance, excuse me. I've got any kind of bias he wants to put on the portfolio. Anything I wanted to put on as a wealth advisor, I can add that in here. Give it a time to, again, then start thinking. While it's doing this processing, I'll kind of walk you through this dashboard here. So first of all, you have kind of the macro overview. So this is what our system has deemed to be the current macro regime that we're existing in. So you can see, because we have this kind of red color here, this tomato color, it's inflation and growth. So we would say they're in an inflationary and growth regime right now. Say back in Christmas, around turn of the new year, we were in a deflationary and growth phase. You can also see any kind of major movers that are expected to do well in that phase. Or you can change it to say like a deflationary decline, right? And you'll be able to see major performers there that we're high conviction will likely do well. While we've been talking, it looks like we've kicked out a nice portfolio for us. So we can look at exactly what we got. So took everything into account, ended up with a 12 ETF portfolio across 5 asset classes. Very standard for a portfolio like this, from any of the major portfolio constructors out there, Vanguard, whomever you'd like, tend to be about 12 ETFs, diversified across a handful of different sectors. So let's take a look. So we've got Schwab dividend, iShares dividend, ProShares dividend. All that kind of makes sense to me. We've got international dividend exposure around 12%. Fine. And some sector allocation that's defensive also makes sense to me. Focused on some real assets. So we've got some real estate. An infrastructure ETF that is specifically no oil, right? So you can bring that up to the client if they ask you about that. It's highlighted it's set you up for success for that client conversation. And then very importantly, and what really differentiates Altitude from any of the other LLMs that are out there is it'll break down exactly why it recommended each position to you. So that is to say, in the same way that if you got a weird client call from saying, why the heck am I in this particular position? We've all had that call. Rather than having to reach out to the portfolio manager and wait patiently for them to get back to you, stall the client, whatever, you can just put it right in here and say, why is this client in this particular position? It'll say, well, we wanted no oil for this particular client, requested no oil, so that's why we used XLE instead of a few of the other ones that could have been out there. Or for example, they didn't include QQQ because of the tech concentration that exists within QQQ. So instead, moved with this was the Schwab ETF, I believe, and so on, right? So it'll actually walk you through all of it. Let's take a look. The other thing is it kind of kicks out the allocation here beneath you. So you can actually see each of the positions. And if you want to drill into each of them, you can. So for example, you can take a quick look at this particular position and say, all right, so it's been doing this over the 52-week range, see some moderate volatility, but nothing crazy. Everything's down today because apparently I'm sure there's some news in the Middle East or something like that around the Strait of Hormuz. If there's a specific position I wanted to add, I could just add in, let's say I want to add Disney, like I could just add in the Disney company, just like that. If there's a specific position I want to add, but more importantly, if I want to make some alterations to this portfolio, I can. So let's say, I guess we had that international exposure that was 10%. Let's say I want to increase this client's international exposure. Client spent his early career in Spain, and so he's really comfortable with international European exposure and international dividend opportunity. So all I have to do is just say increase the international exposure. Spell it properly too. Give it a moment to think. While it's thinking, I'm gonna kind of show off what's going on here on the right-hand side because we already talked about the left-hand side. So you can see that the risk allocation was automatically populated. If not, I can just drill into this drop down and change it to say a higher risk 7 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 or a lower risk 2 or 3 out of 10. You can change your target cash allocation. Most of us are in the kind of 1 to 2% range for cash allocation. You can up it or down it as you'd like, or you can just turn it off all entirely with this enable button. Let's see what we've got from an output here. So added 3 new international ETFs, 25% exposure rather than 10%. Personally, I like international exposure, so this is right up the alley for me. Added one from East Asia. Added the Vanguard. Perfect. If I had a specific, say, mutual fund I wanted to use instead of an ETF, I could do that. The model will naturally bias itself towards ETFs just to save on expense ratio. So just be cognizant of that. If you want to move it towards active funds or you have a handful of favorite active funds you want it to use, you just include that in the prompt and it will take those into account and build them in the portfolio. It tells me right now, next steps is click Analyze Allocations and let the optimizer do its thing. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So we'll give it a few minutes to analyze the tickers. Out comes the exact allocation that I'm looking for. You can see allocation has been filled. So 7% here, 2% there, and then 7% the rest of the way down. You can see if you expand any one of these ETFs, we'll let it scroll a little bit, but you can see that it expands ETFs. You can see exactly what its theme is and then its key strengths. So it helps you set up that, gets to be set up for success if you have that. Helps you be set up to success um, if a client asks you why is that specific position in my portfolio, whatever it is. You can open that. And then really, to me, the thing that is most valuable for this whole process is that you immediately get a full portfolio rationale that speaks specifically to that client's portfolio need. And so this is basically ready to be copy and pasted into your CRM as part of your client notes, right? So obviously you need to go through it and make sure that if you had to add a tweak here or there, add in a particular note from your client discussion as you first open the account, whatever it is, and you're there. So now we can build this portfolio and provide provide these notes to my compliance officer. All you got to do is put in the client's name. Let's call this client David Lindhagen. All right. So this is going to be the portfolio for David Lindhagen. If I want to add an ID, I can. Often that'll correlate with whatever the portfolio construction tool that you have using at your firm. And all I have to do is hit Save Portfolio. A second to try that again. There we go. There it goes. All right, so portfolio saved. Now, anytime I go back to my portfolios tab, this particular portfolio for David Lindhagen is going to be right here. I can reference it. I can start to add new questions to it. I can start to add new positions. I can respond to clients' requests with it and so on, which we'll go on and go through in future videos.